This is the North End. This is the North End.
This is the North End on YouTube. This is a fan channel where we discuss all things Premier League with a bit of bias. Well, because that's where the banter's got to come in. There's got to be a bit of bias. We got a special guest with you this week. Azaz is with us. The Cultures, Liverpool fan, finally representing much of the Premier League that has been gone missing on our channel. We apologize to everybody here who is joining us for the first time, who is a Liverpool fan. We've got somebody here who's proper, who's going to bring in some good info. He's going to support his club properly, and we're going to feel less jackasses having him on. Azaz, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. You've kitted up. You're ready to roll here, ready to chat. How are you, sir? And thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very good. Very happy to be here. Been loving the content you guys are putting out. So happy to be a part of the family, I hope.
Yeah, definitely so far. I mean,
you can be the weird cousin that we don't talk to very often.
Yeah.
I'm a United fan, so that's all I'll give you, family. Okay, weird cousin.
And we have two United fans on here. Generally, David's not with us today, but he will be catching up at some point. I'm happy that now there's some direction to other teams that are in the conversation. At least Villa fans don't really have that luxury to be in the conversation, but
we're just happy to be invited to the party.
Exactly. So yeah, it'll be nice to have a little bit of banter going some other directions without coming to my direction at all. JP, obviously great to see you, buddy. How are you, sir? How's things?
I'm freezing. California dropped to like 7 or 6 Celsius for you guys. We had hail the other day. You know, the road literally crashes everywhere. Like our freeway system is absolutely stopped because people are literally just crashing, and because they don't know how to drive in the rain. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy.
It's kind of a funny one. I think Americans just don't know how to drive in any weather that isn't sunny. Like it's kind of embarrassing.
It's so bad in major cities.
It is. Mr. Paul Forrest, good to see you, sir. How are you? Such a for Spurs fans and United fans. I mean, maybe you guys are a bit more consistent than we are, but it's always seems like a crazy scenario going up and down.
No, man, I am solid.
You're feeling good. You're feeling
avoidance of the drama. I've been relatively drama free. Like, you know what? Like,
come to
clear about what my season's going to be and what it's not going to be. So, no major. Like nobody's got arrested recently. That's good.
That's positive. That's
some sort of progress. Nobody wants to like fire my manager, so that's good. That's progress. So yeah, relatively drama free, which means I can focus on the football, which has been nice.
It was only like a week ago, Paul, where I was feeling like so glorious that I could take the piss out of you on the WhatsApp conversations, feel good about it, and then you would sit there and be like, "Shut up, Ireland! It's coming for you! It's coming for you!" And sure enough, the Spurs.
I distinctly remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
This year,
this is
remember.
Yeah, I distinctly do too, because that's why I'm bringing it up, and I'm not going to apologize because that's what we're here to do. Is the banter's fun, but fuck me, what a shit show if you're a Spurs fan in the last few weeks.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the ups and downs. It's a roller coaster. It's what we're dealing with. So just to let you guys know, and I'm sure it's pretty obvious how I'm feeling, but yeah, it hasn't been easy, but it is the Premier League, and there's some fun to it. But
I just had this idea that you cut your hair, today? Like you shaved your head because it was an emotional thing. Like I gotta,
no, it was. I'm getting ready for World War III. Somebody's got to fight in the trenches.
I feel like it's a therapy session for Brian today. Actually,
I don't know what it'll be, guys.
All, like, do you want to lay down on the chair? Tell us about your emotional state.
I'm going to. I hope you'll let me. Sort of get my emotions out a little bit. It's going to be difficult. I'm not looking forward to it. Fortunately, I'm semi-hosting, so when I'm semi-hosting, I don't have to focus on the pain of just when somebody goes, "So Ireland, what the fuck happened, man?" And I have to explain it. That's never fun. Let's get into it then. Yeah. Anything football wise today? I know that there was obviously a result in the Premier League we're going to talk about. Sorry, go ahead. I'll start with JP because his hand up was first, and then Zaz will come to you if you don't mind.
I mean, I know JP. It's not EPL, but it is football related. Rangers knocking out Borussia Dortmund from Europa League. What an upset! What an upset!
That is a big upset, isn't it? It is. I mean, it's Zaz, you have something you want to add to that, or you got another chat?
Yeah. Like so, you, Brian, and Forrest are right. Like up here with me, and I should be an Arsenal fan because 3-1 late win for them. Blows that top.
Okay, you're not coming back anyway. We're done. No.
But I just want to say as well, the crazy thing about Tottenham's roller coaster is you just beat Man City on Saturday, and
I'm aware of the situation. That's the pain.
Blew the title race open, and then a few days later, you've got that result where Conte's coming out and not really feeling the whole thing. That's a hell of a roller coaster right there. You beat the top team, and then you lose to the away, and then you lose to the bottom team. Crazy.
Yeah.
Just keep twisting it. Just keep twisting it, man. You almost got it.
And I did say we were going to get into this when we get to the results, but we can talk about it now. No, we won't. We'll save it. But you're right, and this is the point. If you ask most Spurs fans, if you were in our kind of world on YouTube and on Twitter and everything, most of us said it will be likely that we'll lose this game. Almost everybody in the Spurs universe who's realistic and understands the pure definition of what Spursy means thought that this would happen, and sure enough, that's what happened. And so, yeah, looking forward to talking about it, guys. Let's get into the results. Paulie, I'm going to push this on over to you, buddy.
I thought we were going to do the thing before the thing.
What was the thing? You're gonna. Oh, right. You know what? You're thank you for reminding me. This is
very important.
I apologize.
Important.
I should have recognized this. And I
with all the things that are going on in the world today, we can't forget this. Happy birthday to JP California.
There he is.
Thank you, guys.
There you go. Happy birthday, JP.
I like 23 years old today.
Yeah.
23. Fuck. 33, dude. Yeah. Thank you for putting the picture of me and my great lost love, Jack Grealish, there. I'm so sad about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even better is this little picture of me is just pretty fulfilling because I feel very round after last night's dinner. I had a great barbecue dinner.
You look really round here. Never mind.
Yeah, I feel pretty fat. 20 pounds over. Yeah.
It's the lighting.
So
we're all
thank
like
you
that
guys.
right now, buddy.
Thank you.
This is why everybody's shot from the shoulders up, so we don't have to see anything. You just
Yeah.
You just look boisterous in the cheek.
Jack would look very skinny compared to me in that picture.
Happy birthday, JP! It is.
Thank you, guys.
You know, I don't know if you have any great plans for this evening, but you know, I'm sure you're looking forward to it.
My birthday was actually yesterday, but I'm taking it.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll go with
it was yesterday. We had a really nice dinner yesterday with the family, and I got some friends coming over on Saturday. It's supposed to be a beautiful 75. I don't know. That's like probably 20 degrees Celsius, 25.
21, 22, I think.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's going to be beautiful. We're going to have a barbecue.
All right. So let's get on to the results of the week.
I hope you enjoy drinking ever what an alcoholic juice-based drink you drink. You fucking
it's a little mini can of it. It's Californian, very Californian. That.
Okay, football was played, boys. Football was played. Lots and lots of games to cover. Lots of action. We're talking about what is essentially a week and a half worth of fixtures compressed into 5 or 6 days, which is my favorite time of year. I love it. Throwing some Champions League games in the mix and some Europa. Like every single day, there's football to watch. Like pig and shit. Very happy about the whole thing. We'll start with West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. Joe Willock's equalizer gives Newcastle 10 points from their last 4 Premier League games, slowly but surely getting away from the drop, whereas West Ham is struggling with top 4 pace. They've got 5 points out of a possible 15. Big part of that is Antonio. 2 goals in the last 17 Premier League games.
That's
West Ham, where everybody's darling for a little bit. Everybody loved the way they were playing. David Moyes.
Zuma, but yeah.
Manager of the year talk, Antonio on fire, fantasy football players just losing their mind, and then the rails fall off because it turns out West Ham are still not that good.
Interesting, Paul. I sort of the post game reaction to this. Somebody showed the heat map, the sort of the typical like what's his heat map being, Antonio in particular. What was his heat map previously when he was scoring goals on a regular, like I forget what the specific percentage was, but it was nearly every game. Where was he on the pitch? It was most of the time he's in the 6-yard box. He's getting on the end of balls, crosses in. He's making himself available. Most of the last, whatever the specific statistic is on the last time he scored, it's a lot. I think you said 2 and 10 or something like that. He is almost always when most of his heat map is on the wings. He's not playing. He's not in the positions he needs to be on the end of these. Now I don't know if that's because they're missing other players and they're looking for creativity, or if he's just sort of changed his mentality and what he's doing. It's a weird one.
People forget this. Antonio is a converted
not
winger.
A striker. Yeah, for sure.
You can put the winger out onto the striker position, but he's still a winger.
I'm not entirely
surprised to hear that.
They must have changed up some tactic for something to switch it up, and it's just not working.
Yeah, and you can. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Yeah.
West Ham were always going to be a bit of a false dawn. I think a lot of people got very excited very quickly, and it was West Ham. Like, I mean, they're not.
They were
there
the early
yet.
bird favorites for.
They were
top
good when
four,
everybody was
outreach
shit.
Top four, and it always falls apart for one team after the winter break.
Yeah, but speaking about the top 4 race, Arsenal beat Brentford 2-1. Arsenal make it 2 wins in a row at that time. It'll be 3 wins.
We're going to get to today's game.
Yeah. But Brentford have now 4 points away from relegation with Burnley, despite the fact that Burnley have 3 more games to play, which is basically the big asterisk when you look at the bottom of the table. You might as well put Brentford at the relegation area. Like they're not. There should be Burnley. Burnley will get out of it. I don't want to like jinx anybody, but let's stop talking about Burnley for the drop. They are going to get out of there, whereas Brentford are slowly, and they're not alone in this. They're getting pulled down there. They've got 1 point in the last 7 games, which is, the only reason why we're not obviously talking about Brentford for the drop is that they got so many early points right off the gate, and they just don't have the squad to keep the pace of the Premier League. And that energy and excitement that they had from day one, you just can't keep it up.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any thoughts on Arsenal and Brentford at the moment? Arsenal at the moment, looking like in that conversation for that top 4.
I think Arsenal are one of those teams that they can beat anybody that's outside of the top 6. And then anyone who's in the top 6, for some reason, they just completely fold in those games. And that's part of a process as well. There are teams that when they're trying to get to the next stage, I know some Arsenal fans, they're not fully in on the whole project, as the Continentals call it. But I have to say, like with the games in hand as well, they're major contenders for that top 4 spot, which would be huge progress for them.
Massive, mate. Massive.
They have more wins than United right now, so
they absolutely are. We'll talk about it a little bit more because again, they did play Wolves today, and that's a top 4. Like that's a 6-point
that
win.
Performance was huge.
Yeah, so huge. So we'll talk about that. But first, we have to get to this one. Emmanuel Dennis. Some say Dennis, some say Denise. I am not sold on which one. Header gives Roy Hodgson the first win of Watford manager, sinking Aston Villa, upsetting so many Aston Villa fans. Aston Villa managed 1 shot on goal from 19 taken and now have 1 point from a possible 9 in their past 3 games.
It's been fun, guys.
What's going on, Aston Villa? JP California? What's going on?
Dude, I wish I could tell you. It's the rails fell off. Stevie G had a solid 2-week break to work on players. He had almost everybody in camp. And we get back and we honestly look like we lost the plot. It just looks like the players aren't really playing for their positions. And he has some tactics in place that is kind of stifling our midfield, and it looks just terrible. He made some really bad subs in this match, which allowed Watford to come at us. He took out our holding mid, Douglas Luiz, because he was being really loose and kind of just bad passing with the ball in the middle of the field when we were kind of pushing them. We had a lot of possession. We had a lot of possession where our defense is like at the halfway line, like really hemming them in. And then he yanks our holding mid off, and every attack for them is coming up the middle. And all of a sudden, they're getting 3 or 4 really good counterattacks, and they get a goal from one. And we just don't look like we can hold a shutout, and we just don't look like we're scoring enough goals. So I don't know what's happening right now.
Is Coutinho starting, JP?
Coutinho is starting.
So what's going on there for you? Because they bring this player and he starts really well, and that's
he got a goal and 2 assists against Leeds. But then nobody had a great game against Newcastle, and we lost them 1-0. And then he had a few chances of brilliance against Watford, but I don't know, man. It's just there's no space for us in the middle of the field to transition from defense into attack. It just looks like it's not the quality of the player. It's just the players aren't playing well.
Yeah,
they're not playing well. It seems like they're already kind of sleepwalking towards the final touchline here, which is a little early and premature for me in my liking. I think we need about 4 more wins before they start sleepwalking. So I don't know, man. I'm pissed. I'm unhappy. The problem was after Newcastle, Steven Gerrard came out and said, "Hey, I'm furious at that result. We're going to bench players. Like I'm making huge subs because that's just not good enough." And then he sat one guy. He sat Oli Watkins. One player.
Yeah, and then what does that say about it too?
Yeah, does that tell me that all your bench
one.
players in the center mid aren't good enough and you don't trust them, so you're keeping with center mids who aren't doing it? Like what's going on there?
You know,
So,
for me,
I don't know.
for me, it says like he's just trying to manage the situation in the media by saying something. He's going to do whatever the fuck he wants in the end.
Yeah, I still think he wants some big changes in the summer. I think we'll talk about that in a future pod. But yeah, I'm unhappy. I'm not looking forward to Brighton on the weekend. Great.
I just be mindful that if you criticize Stevie Gerrard right now, you're criticizing the future Liverpool manager.
Well, he's not going to be the future Liverpool.
What are your thoughts on that,
manager
Azaz? What do you think? Like, have you paid attention to his managerial career so far?
Yeah, for me, I'm in total denial that Jurgen would ever leave. I know he's got a contract. I understand there's all this thing about he had a break before, and I know that his wife would want another break potentially, but I just feel like if you look at where Liverpool are and what we're doing, can he just walk away from that? Maybe, because it's not his club. Mine's is his club. I'm not looking yet at Stevie, to be honest. He's got a lot to prove at Premier League level. Obviously did a good job at Rangers. Yeah, I'd take him on romance, but not. I don't want to think about the future without. Yeah,
Too soon for you, right? Too soon.
Beware of romantic connections to ex-players as managers.
Yeah.
I want One App TV said Watkins and Ings are not good enough strikers, and the problem is I don't believe that. I think Watkins and Ings are very capable strikers. I mean, Danny Ings bangs them in for fun, really. And Oli Watkins has a lot to prove and a lot going on. He got his first England call-up. I think either one can do it, but we tried to play them together for so long that it really killed the confidence for both of those guys. And I don't see them playing well right now. They need to get a game where one of them gets like 2 goals and can start knocking them away, but it's just not there. I think they're good enough. It's just not there.
Fair. Paul?
I just would love the frustration in his voice. I can listen to JP all day about this. He's just always a little too happy when Man United lose. So I'm just like, yeah, whatever, man. All day. I'm excited to tell you that Burnley surprised very capable, very strong, very solid Brighton with a 3-0 road win. It's you can almost time your watch to it every season. Burnley feel like they're going to go in relegation zone, and then they kick it up a notch. Huge signing. Weghorst, the Dutch player that was brought in January, who I think called the Burnley spirit animal in striker form, is the perfect fit for how Burnley play. He's the man of the match. He scores his first goal for Burnley. It's very emotional. The guy basically cries after he scores. You can feel how much it meant to him. It was a beautiful, weirdly unexpected moment in a Burnley game. I think they survive, and I think he is possibly the signing of January. He's such a good fit.
I don't think possibly. I think it's obvious. I mean, they are a different side with him in it.
Oh, 100%.
Massively.
I
know this, especially since we just played them yesterday, and it didn't go very well.
If he gets injured, Burnley have no chance.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, if they get enough points before he's injured, there you go.
Fair enough.
True. It depends on when it happens, for sure.
A lot of the points they're getting right now, and again, not to belabor, we'll talk about this, but like certain points that they just recently got, they probably had no right to expect to get 3 points out of that game.
Yeah.
And that helps. Like even if it goes off the wheels, if they can get those points in now, that drain circling around the relegation zone, there's a lot of clubs getting sucked in there, and they're doing the right thing for themselves now. It's going to be such a great relegation race.
Paul, just before we get on to the next game, I want to welcome some new peeps into the chat. We've got Ryan Jordan. We've got the Scouse Foodie, who changed his picture thinking probably we didn't know what he meant by Scouse because we got funny accents. But welcome, and Ryan Jordan and Intimidi8 as well, and WinApp TV. I don't know if these are your mates, but they're clearly they're new for us.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and welcome to the channel. Hope you're enjoying the content, and appreciate you in the comments. So get in there and take the piss as much as you can, because we enjoy it.
I don't think I like it. I feel like I just walked into the Madison on a Saturday morning. This is what is going on here?
Good show.
It's gonna be like the Homer Simpson meme, just backing into the bush.
Yeah. Forest, when we play each other, you should swing by.
Yeah, I should.
That'll be funny.
Actually, weirdly,
Don't
I
wear
like
the
how
hat.
Grimes'
Don't wear
shirt
the
like
hat
this.
you got on.
He's like, oh,
Wow.
hold on.
I'm more the guy who shows up after United win and then is like, "Oh, did we just win?" And I walk around the room until I get punched.
No, we won't have seen you for a while, hey?
Probably not. No, probably not. That's
Love
true.
it. Love it. The banter's on.
That's hurtful and true. Crystal Palace, despite putting in a fairly decent performance, lose to Chelsea. Ziyech gives Chelsea the win in the 89th minute for his third goal in the last 3 Premier League games. If there's a more miserable looking player on the planet after he scores a goal, I don't know. He is so blasé about every goal he scores. I don't know if he's unhappy or if that's just his thing. I don't care. The stat that has to be said about this, and everybody's talking about it, it's just a crazy stat. Lukaku has 7 touches in this game, the fewest recorded by any player since they started recording the stat of how many players get touched in 20 years. One of those touches is a kickoff. One of those touches is a clearance. And 2 of those touches, he was offside.
Wow. So they shouldn't even count. So
they should. Like I don't even know how you
counting them. Yeah, exactly.
Why are they on that list? Surely the touch on kickoff is like an automatic. Don't count that. Like I, just so brutal. Tuchel is talking about Chelsea looking exhausted. They've had a lot of non-Premier League activity. They've had a lot of traveling. They have had a bit of a weird season when it comes to the rhythm of finding yourself in the Premier League and finding that tempo. So maybe he's got a point, but I don't think any of this explains what is becoming increasingly obvious, that Lukaku should not be considered in the best 11 for Chelsea, and that Kai Havertz, despite not being particularly good as a false 9, is their best option.
That's bizarre. You never would have expected that. Is that going?
He makes things happen though, right? He stretches teams, and their whole vibe is to then have the attacking midfielders pushing forward as well. So they score a lot of FIFA goals, like tap-ins that someone rolls across the front of the box. Lukaku, bit of an enigma to me, period. And I'm not just saying that because he played for Everton and United as well, although I could be accused of that. I think similar to my comment about Arsenal before, such a flat track bully, unplayable when you're at a certain level. Had a great season in Inter at the top level, by the way. So, don't want to disrespect the Italian league. I know we're talking about the Premier League here. My thing with him in the Premier League is at the very, very top end, he just seems to disappoint for me. So
I actually think we can have a conversation about the Italian league, because I think it's something we should probably start talking about. It's
levels below.
There's a handicap that you have to give. It's almost like a currency exchange. Like, what is a goal in one league worth to the goal in the Premier League? And the quality of the Serie A has changed. It's not what it was. Mo Salah killed it at Roma. And then came to the Premier League and was ready to kill it. So he's maybe like the few exceptions.
There's exceptions, yeah.
But that was even before I think the quality of the Serie A dropped. Like Lukaku was a very good goal scorer in Serie A when 35-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo was outscoring him. Like it's bizarre, and it's probably more of a thing to consider for transfers and evaluating players as they come over. But I get the sense that it's not the most practical league to get older guys from if they're performing.
I would add to that, Paul,
story.
Older strikers in particular, older forwards. I think defensively you can bring an Italian defender in, like a Romero for Spurs as an example, and the quality's still there because there's a focus on defensive work, and that is sort of the Italian league's kind of known for that. And I still feel like that exists, but from a forward perspective, I haven't seen a ton of forwards come from the Italian league.
JP's wagging his finger.
I see it. I was going to get there to him. JP, go on. Mate.
All right, I figured I was going to be let in. I think that's a load of crap, guys. I'm not trying to like big up the Italian league here, but he did have a decent goal scoring record at United. He had a really good record at Everton. He's a top level striker. He was banging them in, and when he showed up, everybody here, our whole freaking group here said, "Yeah, 20 is very doable for Lukaku. Yeah. Maybe even 25 to 30."
But there was a good reason to think that, JP.
Yeah, there was a good reason to think that. He had been banging them in. The system that Tuchel is playing is not fitted to him, and since that is clearly evident, he is now losing faith in Tuchel, so he's not willing to put in the extra effort.
He's getting the chances, though. He's getting it, or was. He was. He's no longer getting them because nobody trusts him anymore.
Right.
But he had many chances early doors where he wasn't finishing. He wasn't holding up the ball properly.
Just for anybody who's new here, just know that JP always thinks the manager is to blame for everything. He doesn't hold players accountable.
I just feel like if players are close, like Timo Werner is a great example for me. He always got in great positions, great opportunities. He couldn't finish. You got to give that guy time. He will get the goal, and once he gets one or two, it's just going to start rubbling in. But Chelsea don't give strikers time. Chelsea don't give strikers time.
Sorry, mate. You've got to look in reverse, though. Like, Giroud is constantly leading the line for Milan, who are, like, contending for Serie A. And, like, Olivier Giroud would not be walking into a Liverpool, a Chelsea, a
He's
City.
a backup.
Yeah, he's a backup. And also, I've said this a couple of times to the Liverpool group. What really blew my mind last week when we played Inter was I was actually really excited to see Lautaro. This will come out. I'm a big Messi fan. I know that Lautaro is someone who wants to take Messi's crown, I guess, as the darling of the Argentina team. So Lautaro's got the ball. He could run right at Liverpool's defense and try to make something happen. And he wanted none of Van Dijk. Now,
can you blame him? Like, come on.
Who wants any of Van Dijk? Sure. But to me, there was something there that was like when you've got like a prime guy, and he's a champion, Lukaku is as well. That's the champions, the star striker of the championship team. And he just didn't want to go at him. He kind of like went towards the corner flag right when they were 1-0 down. So yeah, we got a comment here. Lukaku had 7 touches in the game. We're talking about 7 touches. At that point, it's not only Tuchel's fault. Lukaku has to be more involved. Yeah,
I want to repeat at that one too.
Yeah,
I think some of the players also probably did not like Lukaku's comments from earlier in the season.
Hasn't done any good, is it?
I'm wondering if some of the players within the team are, trying to just softly say they don't want to be playing with Lukaku.
Maybe, but that's so unprofessional and ridiculous. You can't be doing that at the top level.
Shit happens all the time.
I know it does. I'm just saying it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
I don't think there's any evidence that he's being bypassed. Like 7 touches in one game is a weird game. It wasn't like he's not been starved for touches in other games he's played.
He's just not doing it.
He didn't do it at United. He scored against softer teams. He didn't score against big teams. He's got a terrible first touch. The Premier League doesn't give you the time and space for your first touch that Serie A has. He was replaced by Dzeko, who is well past his Premier League time and is killing it at the Inter Milan team. So let's be clear about this. Like there's reasons to be concerned for Lukaku's fit at Chelsea, and none of us support Chelsea, so we don't give a
fuck.
Fuck them.
To be fair, Chelsea have a great record with strikers. Chelsea know how to pick them.
Yeah, they've got a lot of flops in that team, but they've had a couple of big ones.
Talk about curses.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who's not cursed for strikers. Liverpool beaten up on lowly Norwich, who made the mistake of scoring first and then were punished for it, like they were a petulant child talking back to mom and dad. Just smacked in the mouth. Terrible for them. Salah with his 150th goal for Liverpool, while new signing Luis Diaz, who is almost a Spur, I believe, scores his first Premier League goal for Liverpool.
Be honest about it.
This is like, we don't talk too much about Liverpool games, not because there's not interest in talking about Liverpool. It's just so mechanical.
They're so clinical. It's ridiculous.
They just beat the shit out of teams. You can't really analyze rock and roll football anymore because it's so well known. It's just, this is a team hitting a stride. The exciting thing with this game is that they were keeping pace with Man City. It'll get more exciting when we get into the next game. But I mean, this could not have been that nervy for Liverpool fans when you went 1 down to Norwich, right?
No. I was watching it with my cousin, who's a big Liverpool.
Fuck off.
No,
it's true though, JP. Why would they?
God damn it! Like I just hate the attitude. I hate the confidence. Like
swagger, man. They got swagger.
Have a little worry. God damn it.
No, like to be honest, there are games definitely from the fall, and you know what? This could change again a couple of times before the end of the season. But right now, Forest hit the nail on the head. There is just a stride. I think Brian used the word swagger. Like Liverpool are in that moment right now that Man City had 2 months ago. So form, it's just kind of falling our way as well in terms of people coming back from injury. The AFCON as well worked out in our favor.
Wasn't problematic at all. It was actually good for you guys.
If there was an outcome that we wanted
Yeah.
as a collective Liverpool fan base, it was Mane and Salah in the final, assuming that they weren't going to get knocked out early, because then they'd both be back. This outcome would be Mane and Salah in the final. Mane wins, has a hand in the winner, and then he missed a penalty in normal time, so that looked like it was going to be bad. Salah would come back with the chip on his shoulder to try and prove as well, because he wants the Ballon d'Or, and he's a contender at some point for it. It was a joke he was number 7 last year. And he even laughed at that, by the way. So I think things have just fallen into place for us. And I do believe you can score too early against some teams. And I feel like at Anfield, if they had scored that goal at 65, 70, yeah, I would have been a little bit worried, because we need to win every game at the moment. A draw is like a defeat when you're chasing a juggernaut like Man City. Because they scored on, I think it was 48, I believe it was. I had faith. I'm also feeling this front three combination, to be honest with you, which is crazy, because Jota was a major reason we hung while the 2 African lads were in at the AFCON, and Jota picked up an injury. So now we've got this new front line of obviously Salah in his role on the right, but then Luis Diaz, very well pronounced, by the way, Forrest. I'm feeling the pronunciation. Yeah.
Oh, not me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, was playing on the left, and now that's made Mane a default number 9, I guess, and different number 9 to Firmino, different number 9 to Jota, but it's kind of working, because what we're seeing in Diaz is what some people, including me, felt Mane wasn't giving us on the left. He seems to have had a bit of a new lease of life as well. So, for example, in the Carabao Cup final, I'd start with that 3.
So I guess Mane doesn't get talked about a lot, I don't think, but Mane was a right winger for Southampton. He switched rings and has been you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But I
think they
the
play
idea of him
narrow
playing down
enough
the middle, I'm like, it's like a luxury. Why not put him there?
Yeah.
There isn't a faster, more dangerous counterattack front 3 in the planet, as far as I can tell. And they're only now starting to play together with this new addition. And Jota's waiting in the wings. So, I don't want to up the tires too much of my bitter rivals, but
especially since he's new here, he doesn't get all the praise.
I'll say it once. I'll say it as clear as I can. I honestly think Mo Salah, outside of Lewandowski, is the best player on the planet right now, and it's
hard to argue.
Ballon d'Or is such a bullshit trophy. It's unfortunate that it's such a fucking silly.
The players. What's the players one called? The one where the players voted. That's the one that the players care about, because it's your colleagues, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they care about it more than Ballon d'Or.
I think so.
Salah we can talk about on that. I think that's a whole other.
It's another show.
He's on here twice. Triple captain Salah times 19. But
I just wanted people to know I triple captain Salah, and I got all of the points.
Yeah,
man, I captained him, and that was still really.
You got
good.
a lot of points.
Imagine the triple. Bloody hell! Anyway,
it's like 84 or 85.
We got a lot to get through, lads. So let's roll on a little bit here.
Well, you're gonna like this. Southampton beat the shit out of Everton 2-0. Everton now sits 16th with a possible 4 points out of 24 available. Mm-hmm. In a telling little stat, we like to reference Who Scored, the website, Who Scored, and every week games are played, Who Scored puts out a team of the week with their algorithm score of players. Every single one of the available defender positions for the Who Scored team of the week was a Southampton defender.
Wow.
Just snuffing out and attacking and bombing and just really putting Everton under the knife. Everton, who are clearly still trying to find their feet and are
Lampard in a relegation.
They're running out of time
here.
To find it. They're running out of time.
Dangerous.
It's not going to get easier. We'll get into it, but they got Man
2
City
points
coming up.
above.
Yeah, it's right there.
So speaking of Man City, the shocker of the season so far, in a lot of minds, including
I'm gonna enjoy this because after this I'm gonna be
enjoy this one. Revel in this one.
I'm gonna enjoy this one. I enjoy this one for sure.
In a game that has Tottenham taking the lead 3 times and has 2 goals in extra time, Spurs do a huge favor to Liverpool and the entire Premier League by preventing
very
Man City
Dr.
from,
Tottenham here.
Yeah, from presenting 3 points. And all of a sudden we've got, again, Harry Kane, man of the match with a brace. Just a hell of a game with huge implications across the Premier League. I'm going to go straight to Brian because he's going to want to talk about this one more than anything else.
Yeah.
Rightfully.
Yeah, I'm going to, I did, when you talk about Harry Kane, probably one of the best individual performances from a player in the Premier League that I've seen. Not just as a 9, he was a 9 and a 10 in this game. He, was unbelievable levels above anybody on the pitch, including Kevin De Bruyne, who is arguably should be, or is in the conversation as the best creative player in the league at the moment. Harry Kane was unplayable, was unreal, and of course, showing in the shop window for what he has to offer, what he would have had to offer had he gone to City. This City play into our hands every single time we play them. They don't seem to understand that your high line against Kane and Son is not going to work. It just doesn't. You give Kane the ball just a little bit deeper than where he'd be as a 9, not on the shoulder of the last defender, but in that space between, and put Sonny on that last defender, and Bish Bosh, turn it, pass it, goal. And of course, Kulishevsky finishes it, but the first goal changes the way the game goes. And then of course, it was very exciting. It was a fun watch. The winner from Kulishevsky with the cross and the header, and it was epic. It was the best game to watch as a Spurs fan, and of course in the middle of absolute dross across either side of it, which of course we'll get to, but we did enjoy the one day of really one of the best games I think of this season so far, one of the best games I've seen in a while. Being a Spurs fan, of course, the result was great, but I'm imagining we'll get your guys' thoughts on it. As a neutral, this was fun as shit to watch. This was Premier League football at its best, I thought. And of course I got to enjoy it as the winning side too. But it was glorious, absolutely glorious. And there is a fucking title race now, which I think from all of our perspective as Premier League fans, that makes me happy. So we did something good in this game, just despite the rest of the results around it.
Revel in it, man. You beat the champions 3-2 in a hell of a. I mean, that fucking winner was
unreal.
Like, the game was over.
Crazy.
It was going to be a draw, and then out of nowhere, boom! Like,
the penalty, giving up the penalty, which was a penalty. I have no doubt that was a penalty. I think it is. Most people would agree. It looked like we had shit the bed, and of course we scored that last minute goal. Yeah, unbelievable. It's fantastic. I revel in it, but of course I recognize that what's happened post that, it's hard to enjoy it anymore because
move on.
You know why? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I've done it. I've said everything I needed to say. Now let's be miserable. Let's get back to that.
Well, listen, if you go to the Madison on a Saturday with a Spurs jersey on, I think you'll like the results.
Yeah. You've taken 6 points off them this season.
I know. Did the double. 2 different managers too.
Yeah, 2 different managers.
Yeah.
So I was taking my first ever ski lesson on Saturday, watched the Liverpool game, and went right onto that. I had to actually take like 10 minutes out right at the end. And just the emotions, because I wasn't a neutral, obviously. I was a Spurs fan on
of course. Yeah.
90 minutes. Just the emotion of giving up that penalty, which was a penalty, but it was still like hard to give up because it was a VAR penalty. Right call. Again, we can't just demonize VAR when they make the right calls.
Yeah, 100%.
Penalty all day, every day. But still, it wasn't given in real time. Then VAR reversed it. Wicked penalty by Mahrez, just
unreal.
In. And then to have the character to go to the other end and score again. It was a proper Premier League game for anyone who wasn't invested in it from like one side. It was one of the matches of the season for sure.
100%. Yeah, it was very, very good. JP, did you watch it or live?
I watched the second half of it, and it was very entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I thought, God damn it, like, Man City are so good, and when you're watching that match, you're just like, okay, I know the outcome. And then Spurs do that, and it's like, damn, that's so amazing. That's so good. The talent level that Spurs have in an attacking way. And then you look around all the results around this game for the Spurs, and you're like,
What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Okay.
We'll
Now we're
get into
starting
that.
to bridge into bullying. I don't like it, JP. I don't like it. I see what you're doing.
Fine,
I
we
just don't
deserve it.
understand
We deserve it.
I'm
consistency
stopping it right
issues.
now.
Go Spurs.
I don't
So
understand
we-
the consistency issues.
We're gonna go over to Leeds and take a little time machine to the 1970s because it was a 70s style game of football. Leeds against Man United. Man United, shocking to me a little bit, survive a scare going up 2-0 and then blowing a lead, ultimately winning the game 4-2. Rhythm is a dancer. Anthony Elanga doing his business as a nice young man. Just a really chippy, old school game in the rain. Slide tackle after slide tackle. People being pelted by coins after goals. Stupid shit that just kind of adds to the mythos that is the Leeds Man United rivalry. A fun and entertaining game for me. Relatively drama free for me. Scored a header on the 140th attempt. If you want to know how hard the season has been for Man United, that stat is one of the many stats I'll put out to describe how fucking weird this season has been. But a little bit of a story, and we've talked about this increasingly on WhatsApp and on the show and a few other places, but Leeds just, they are not built to withstand the players they are missing.
No.
They cannot.
JP
play-
just dying here. JP just dying here to
They
get
just
out
cannot.
of his
They're not a team that can
No, they're
play
dumb.
anything other than the Bielsa ball way. If that's his limitation as a manager, or if that's just their ability to play well coached, I don't know what to tell you. But if you look at, they have no center defensive midfield players. They have nobody who can pull the strings. There is no league in Premier League who can survive without having those elements. And it's just such a wheels have fallen off the cart situation for Leeds. And I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon with the games they have coming up. But JP definitely has some theories on Bielsa and is a big advocate that if you're going to go into a game weak and not have your best lineup, then park the bus, be more pragmatic.
You're changing my words again, Forrest.
Well, you tell me then. What do you think?
All right, here we go. First off, I think Leeds are very dumb. I think they're very ignorant.
So there's a reason why I changed your words then.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm guessing we have a whole lot of Leeds fans watching us right now.
I'm just saying your critical analysis is because they're dumb.
They're dumb. To me, they're just naive, and they're poorly planned on their matches. The problem is for me, not that they go into matches believing they're down a few players, so they should turtle up and they should play Jose Mourinho park the bus ball, but that when their results aren't going their way, they are not changing anything. They have not changed anything this whole season on their approach to matches, and they have been progressively worse since the winter break.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's clear that they should have made changes back in November or December when results were going really bad. I think they got like 2 6-0 beatdowns in November, and they should have said, okay, let's stop conceding so many matches. Let's see if we can get a few draws. Let's see if we can eke out 1 or 2 wins, and then maybe we can get back to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have injuries, you can go back to who you are, but you can't just keep going and running at this wall and not moving anything. And to me, it's Bielsa naivety that he's going to keep playing the exact same style no matter what, and he's going to possibly take Leeds down. You know what? I know that we want to see Leeds play the way Leeds played last year,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can't do it, you can't just keep going and possibly bring your club to the brink of destruction again by taking them down. There we go.
I feel like I'll add some more when we get onto Liverpool v Leeds, but I have some very similar thoughts to JP, and one in particular, I'll just put it out there right now. I feel like audacity is a word that to me describes that to have the audacity to go 11 v 11, like man mark system against some of the players that are far superior than you, you're asking for some beatdowns. And will he change? No. Did he bring them up? Yes. Has he got a lot of what's the word? He's got a lot of
Charisma.
I guess. Like he's good. Like Leeds love him, they adore him. But like, is it sustainable for them to keep climbing the table this way? No, because if you put 11 players against another 11 players and you match their system in a way, you're going to lose if your team is not better than theirs. So,
As though, can I just quickly interrupt on this, because this was always been our point when it comes to this situation, specifically this season with Leeds. They have had some serious issues with injury, injuries, like key players in key positions. And I know teams have that, but this has been the entire season. This has not been like, oh, we're missing our goal scorer for 3 weeks. Bamford's been out almost the entire season. You know, like, and that's a massive Calvin Phillips, massive. Like he was the person who basically made the team tick. He's been out most of the season, almost the entire season as well. Yeah, like I think, and don't get me wrong, I do think he should, as I think any manager should try to adjust to try to deal with the situation. But it's dramatic. It's dramatic for a team to lose those key players, and with a team that isn't spending money as well to replace them or to have depth in that space. You know, so that's.
But that makes JP's point even more profound.
Thank you.
Like how are you going to lose those players and then play 11 versus 11 against United and then against Liverpool? And
there's this inherent presumption that another way of playing would have success. Like,
you can't just assume it,
his
right?
team, he knows what his how they function, how they've been drilled, how they've been like built. Like they're all speedy little individual players who may not be able to
Burnley
play
all of a sudden, you know, like let's do 2 banks of 4 at the back and defend. You're not going to. The players don't know how to do that. They're not. That's not.
But it's not working now. If you keep playing the same way, thinking, okay, we have all these players, we have to play this way, but it's not working. You can't keep doing it.
Yeah, but you can't assume that it's what
the definition of working for this team, though.
Well,
like what is working for Leeds? What is working for define? You need to define what success is for Leeds right now when they have all these injuries. Like, is scraping in at 15th,
staying up,
14th? Like, is that success? Because that could be what their margin of success is this season, just because of the situation they're in. Like, they play a certain high caliber way, and they drew Aston Villa 3-3. Like, their high risk, high reward style of play. It doesn't matter if you lose 6-0. Like, it's still 0 points if you lose 1-0 or 6-0. Like, their style of play gives them occasional games where they're in it because it's so open.
Yeah.
And I say this on the heels of, like, they came back and tied Man United with their open style of play. And, like, they hit a crossbar.
Yep.
Like, they hit a crisp. Like, I mean, I'm not walking away saying we beat the shit out of them. Like, they were in that game until they weren't late in the game. Anyways, we'll get to Leeds because obviously they did get
another spanking.
Yeah, so
10 goals in 2 games.
3 points outside the.
You can be smug about when we get to that one. Wolves 2, Leicester 1. Wolves have lost 1 game in the last 6 at this point. That's obviously changed today. They are slowly, even with today's result, getting into that top 4 race because they've been so consistent. Pedro Neto made his return after 10 months of injury to this game. Like this guy was under the radar. Nobody was talking about him being back at training. Wolves fans weren't aware of it. He just kind of suddenly showed up. He's like a new signing. He is
so good.
Like, the energy he brings is exactly what they shipped out with Traore. He's much more skilled, but he's got the same kind of impact from an energy level. So troubling for anybody who's in the top 4 race that he's fit and firing and available for Wolves. I get nervous when I hear about it because I'm a big fan of him and Wolves. And Brendan Rodgers and the Foxes continue to struggle, and there's not really much we can say about that because the board and the ownership of Leicester have basically said we're okay with him. Like, he doesn't seem to be under any real.
There's no pressure at the moment. It seems another team that's dealt with some injury issues that are obviously affected the results in much of the season. Excuse for now how long that lasts for. I don't think he gets away with this, you know, a month or 2 into next season if that's the case. But he's not getting sacked before the end of this year. I don't think.
No, I think if anybody's desperate for the season to stop and for everybody to just get a little bit of a reset, it's the entire Leicester club. Like, just get Fofana back. Like, honestly, I go back to that broken leg situation in a friendly against those fucking jackasses. I think it was Atletico Bilbao or Atletico Madrid, but like, to snap a guy's leg in a friendly, like that's
a dick
threw
move.
the entire season off for, like, he's one player, but he was so significant for them in defense. And it was just I just get worked up. You just don't do that. You don't do that, man.
Don't do that.
He's wrong.
Paul,
Um,
is it time to get into the highlight of the week? Because we'll do this before we get into the second half of the results.
No, it's all the same week.
Do you want to save it?
Yeah, it's all the same week.
All right, cool.
So this one's gonna suck. Burnley beat Spurs. Burnley captain Ben Mee give Spurs the win. Burnley win 2 in a row. Probably the most telling situation coming off of this game were the quotes and interviews Conte delivered, which everybody's been talking about today. I'm going
Did a whole stream about it this morning. It was so much fun.
I'm not going to try my Italian accents because it's terrible. But essentially, the quote is, I repeat, I am too honest to accept this type of situation, and for sure we will make an assessment with the club because I repeat, it is not right. It is not right. It is not good for everybody to continue to lose, and I can't accept this. It's not good for nobody. Conte, I think, was kind of having a bit of a throw the toys out of the pram moment in front of the press, and it reminded me of Jose Mourinho. It reminded me a little bit of what
reminds me of
Conte's done
Antonio
before.
Conte. I mean, he's done it at every club he's been at. This is not new. It's just new for the Premier League.
It's just earlier than expected.
I don't. I mean, I think it's. Just,
I think so.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's circumstantial that he came in mid-season for the first time ever. So it seems earlier because he's only been in the club a certain time. He hasn't had a preseason to sort of develop what's going to happen. So I think there's a bit of difference there, but it's concerning. Initially I thought, it's just his emotions kind of taking over. He said a couple things that I was like, dude, what are you doing, man? You're in the middle of a season. You can't change the things that you want to change right now. The window's closed. If you have these opinions, post or talk about them during the transfer window when we need a player, get the player in, and you can do that. Right now, all he's just whining about, and now we got to go through the rest of the fucking season, 14 games left, where he's basically looks like he's given up. And so where your best players are sitting there going, whoa, you just said a week ago we were the best players you've worked with. Not even a week ago, 3 days ago, you said we're the best players you work with. Now all of a sudden, you're like you said, Paul, throwing the toys at the pram. He's lost the plot completely. I love the guy. I think that his honesty about the state of the club is on point. It's just timing is completely ridiculous. And as a Spurs fan, I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, just don't do that right now. Don't do that right now. Just own the loss. Burnley were better than us. We have some issues. We all know what they fucking are, and you do especially. But just to do that, it isn't good for the club. It isn't good for the current squad who are going to try to get the best out of the situation for the rest of the season. It's really strange.
JP's clamoring to say.
Go ahead, JP.
I actually have a question for Brian.
Shoot.
This isn't me like jumping in with my own ideas here. This is me wondering, what is Daniel Levy going to do with a guy who's literally just mouthing off to the board over the last 3 weeks? Like, is this a guy, like, I just feel like this is a very Jose Mourinho feel to it again.
It's Jose, by the way.
Sorry, you're right. Jose.
Don't bother.
Yeah, who cares? The guy kicks a ball at the stands in the middle of a game, whatever. Is he going to get fired? Is he going to get let go? Is this like a Conte trying to piss off Levy type?
This is what Conte does at every club. Every club that there's a situation at that he needs to.
I'm not asking about Conte. I'm asking, is Daniel Levy going to?
I'm going to get to that if you let me finish my point.
Okay.
What Conte does. Conte does this going in, and essentially Levy should know this. Levy and Paratici especially will know this. This is how he gets what he wants out of the club in the situation he wants. Again, I just mentioned that the problem with this is that it's mid-season and he can't do anything about it for another 15 games and have a summer. That's where the issue lies. Had this been like just at the end of a season, he's going into the transfer window and he has the ability to manipulate the situation, it doesn't matter what Levy thinks. Levy will have to give him what he wants in that scenario. In this scenario, there's a chance that Levy, if given the amount of time, if this continues for the rest of the season and we go to shit and we don't finish in Europe and all those, maybe Levy will have to think about sacking him because he's basically completely fucking shit the bed. He's lost 4 out of the last 5 games. He's basically saying, I'm not good enough for this club right now. I don't know if I'm the answer, blah, blah, blah. It's not a good situation. It's not. And I don't think he'll get sacked because we don't have any options. And he's got an 18-month contract, so hopefully he sees it out, but it isn't good for the club. It isn't good for the club. It isn't good for the squad.
The point situation makes it even more bizarre, though, because how are you going to get in your feelings about losing to Burnley? Losing to Burnley is a thing. Top 4 teams top 6 teams lose.
He says he's not used to it, and I
No,
think that that's telling, right?
Yeah, and I get it. It's coming off the high against Man City and then losing to Burnley, but like you can't disrespect any team in the Premier League. Leeds at full strength included, for sure. Leeds at full strength are awesome, but Burnley, with their tactics and the way they play, they can do you 1-0 at home. Like,
No, they just beat Brighton away 3-0 the week prior. So they're a good side. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's an adjustment from him. At Chelsea when he was in the Premier League briefly, he had a good squad already there. There's enough depth in that squad. If he shifts the formation, he has the players to play it. He can't play a different formation or a functional formation with the squad we have because there's so many players that just aren't good enough for what he wants to do. No. And he has to adjust, and he's not. He's just whining because they're not good enough. And it's like, dude, you know what you have now. The window's closed. Move on, get through it, get to the summer, then ask for what you want. But he's kind of doing it way too early for me, and it's concerning.
I don't want to throw a little salt on that wound, but the math does not work well with that loss. The game in hand, 2 games in hand that Spurs have on Man United in 4th would not be enough for them to pass Man United. So that asterisk of looking at point standings and games played is not a positive asterisk right now.
We lost Spurs. All 3 games in hand that we had.
Yeah.
Shameful.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway, let's move on, guys. Bricks.
Sorry. Crystal Palace beating the shit out of Watford. Watford, you're garbage. JP's not here. Watford beating Aston Villa, the funniest thing ever. And
it makes it even funnier when Palace spanks them 4-1.
And they get spanked by Crystal Palace 4-1. This is the first win for Crystal Palace in 7 games. They were bound to get some sort of win. Watford are relegation bound. I think everybody kind of knows that's in the cards. And Wilfried Zaha with a brace. Wilfried Zaha still kind of doing the business for Crystal Palace while he's still at Crystal Palace. Nobody's quite sure how and when, especially his agent, who I'm sure has been told move me on for the past 5 years, but it is what it is.
Nobody wants him.
I don't know if somebody needed to call the police, if it's domestic abuse or whatever, but Liverpool invite Leeds to their home and then beat the shit out of them 6-0.
Oh, what a segue, Paul. What a segue.
Like just it's not good for anybody to watch this kind of violence. Mo Salah with his 18th and 19th goals of the season. Liverpool are now within 3 points of Manchester City because this is their game in hand, the much anticipated game in hand.
That's what you do with your game in hand. That's how you do it.
Both have played 26 games. Again, what do you really say about Liverpool other than they're bullies who beat the shit out of lower teams and top teams and they're just flying. And Leeds, I think, they didn't lay down and die. They were still running around, but at some point in this game, it just got very hard to watch. They were so completely out of their element. I think the guy they had in center defensive midfield player was like their 4th or 5th string.
Yeah, he's a child essentially.
And he was, it was brutal. I mean, great win for Liverpool, great win, but it was one of those games where it was look away at times.
Zaz, how satisfied were you, mate? You must have been like, okay, we're now the title race is on 3 points.
Yeah,
you're right behind them. It takes them to lose a game, you to win 1 week, and we've got a race straight to the end. You must have felt pretty good about this.
Yeah, I think some of these wins, like the 3-1 Norwich and 6-0 Leeds, Man City are that good that like making these statement wins actually adds a bit of, because we're kind of, I know Ryan wrote before we're coming to get you, like we're kind of breathing on their neck now. They can kind of feel us. And, the thing is, what's happening right now is we're not just eating a 1-0 or a 2-1 last minute. I think we would have
comfortable.
Yeah, and that's adding to this title race. Now, our league needs a title race. Like we don't
desperately
run away at a canter. So personally, for me, Liverpool doing this really helps us. Of course it does, and we enjoy it, and we want Salah to win the Golden Boot, and we love the fact that the top 3 goal scorers and the top 3 assist makers are both from Liverpool for the first time at this stage of any season. So things like that, yeah, they're very satisfying. Beating Leeds 6-0, a depleted Leeds at that, it was fun to watch, and I understand that from a neutral perspective, it was just like a waste of time, I guess, because especially the Atletico and United game was happening at the same time, and that was, more of a spectacle, I guess. But for us, it's like get to every game with that professionalism. Salah, what can you say? 2 goals, an assist. But the best moment he did was the ball before the assist when he released Henderson, I believe it was, to just square it against. And the moment of the match. Now, I'm obviously a Liverpool fan. I'm Liverpool first, but Joel Matip is straight up slept on. Like, I don't understand why he's not getting certain flowers, why he doesn't get certain accolades. We love him. He's a cult hero, but he should actually be spoken of much higher. Not saying he's in Van Dijk's league. It's not that.
He's solid, though.
But he's the only defender, gents, that makes Van Dijk look better than Van Dijk looks with somebody else. Van Dijk makes everybody next to him look better. Like, Van Dijk makes Konate looks better. Van Dijk makes Gomez looks better. But the only one of these guys that makes Van Dijk look better is Matip. Like, Matip is his guy. But his adventuring is just, we don't see it. Like, we don't see that
I'm going on an adventure.
So I'm like by trade a center back myself, and I grew up in the years of like center backs were spoken up as being partnerships. Like it was always Rio and Vidic kind of like,
to you,
And something in the last 5 or 6 years, everybody talks about center backs as individuals, and they don't talk about them as pairs. And I don't know if it's because a lot of teams chop and change, or
I think the 3 at the back trend.
The 3 at the back is like, how do you even keep track of it all the time now? But like he's goddamn dynamite. Like, he's slow as shit, but you never know because his reading of the game is perfect. He always knows exactly where to be. His ball distribution is some of the best you're going to get from a center back. Yeah. His ability to drive forward into space, it's almost like people are like, oh, he won't do that. So they give him extra space and he's like, oh, I will. And once he gets going, he's not that slow. Like, he is deceptively fast for his size and frame. I know what you mean. Like, he is a very good center back, and nobody speaks about them as a pairing. It's always as individual accolades, even though their dominance is largely as a pair. Like, no offense to Joe Gomez, but like, it's different.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. That the satisfaction that we got from Matip's goal was probably the moment of the match, because we've seen this coming for a while. Reagan. Joel Matip is a giraffe on skate. Ice Cube. Yeah. You know what? Like, he's got grace as well. So yeah, honestly, like, I feel like just to round off that Leeds game, you can't really revel too much when the other team is so depleted. And, they did come to Anfield, and I said the word audacity before. With a depleted team, they show up at, like, top 2 to play the way they did. JP's not
stewing. He's stewing again.
I don't.
Before we get into this,
I've already talked about it, JP.
I don't need to say anything. I don't need to say anything. He's saying everything for me. I'm good.
Yeah.
Do you think, and this is an honest question, do you think Reagan's at home doing like upside down like ab crunches on his phone, just like typing it away?
You know what? I can't even. Me and Reagan sometimes are co-salading at the Maddie, and we get heat for it. Like, other people at the club are like,
shameful.
You guys both eating a salad. So
shameful. So you guys know he's the way I got into this situation with like hooking this up, and all I remember is that he was like the guy that found every excuse in the world to take his shirt off, and now I've said it out loud on YouTube. So there, it's a thing.
One game left this week, Paul.
One game left. It just ended like an hour and a half ago. Arsenal nick a win against Wolves for the second time in the last 3 weeks. Coming back from 1-0 down to score in a game that was much more entertaining than the first fixture. It really puts them in the hunt for 4th now. It is a almost 6-point swing game because Wolves are now further away than Arsenal in that hunt. It actually was a great game to watch. It had a lot of intrigue.
It was fun to watch. I watched the second half.
Maybe harder to pay attention to because the Europa second legs are on. Borussia Dortmund are playing Glasgow Rangers. I fucking hate the Rangers because I'm a Celtic guy. Whatever. But that's the end of the game week fantastic end of the game week, by the way. What it's like.
It was a good game.
Roller
I
coaster.
hate to say this. Both of those teams are better than Spurs, just from watching them play each other, having just played Wolves and watching Arsenal play. They dominated Wolves in much of the game and had way more chances and looked like scoring more often than Wolves did. Wolves are really good on the break in this game, but Arsenal, I think they're in that conversation for that fourth spot. I think Arsenal United at this point is going to be the two teams that are playing well enough, I think, to be in that spot, sadly, but that's the facts.
Let's also hope Chelsea just like plummet, because that would be good for everybody, right?
That would be. I mean, they're Russian owner. It's suitable for the situation in life at the moment.
Some issues will happen there. Well, now we get to the part of the show where we like to identify the star performer of the week. This gentleman was a star performer in both games he played, so it's hard to pick which performance got him this, but he gets a free code to ISO Date where he can meet other people and just have a live connection with strangers from the safety of his home. Mo Salah. These are his stats from the Leeds game. You could have picked the Leeds game. You could have picked the game before that as well. He fucking great in both. Probably should have done a combo because his points are insane. But 2 goals against Leeds, 1 assist, 6 shots, pass accuracy of 90% for a guy who plays on the wing, which is always impressive. And a who scored rating of 8.9. Sadio Mane was also very close contention with 2 goals. It was that assist that pushed it over to Mo Salah for the ISO Date player of the week. On a personal note, my triple captain was played on Mo Salah, and thanks to him and his performance, I'm now I think 750th in fantasy football in Canada.
That's not bad. It's not bad. That's
it's more than just not bad, but
it's up there.
Okay, I walk down the street, girls are like, "Woo, you look like a top 500 boy."
Yeah.
Like,
obviously we've spoken a lot about Liverpool and the quality, and of course this man and what he brings to your team. Not surprised by this. His performance in both games was brilliant.
Yeah, the greatest modern day Liverpool forward, and we've had a few of them, right? Like we're not even talking about slim pickings. Like every week he is the joy to watch. And I think the thing is, for me, I know there's the contract situation going on right now. I can't even imagine us without him. Like it's that pivotal at the moment for us to lock him down. And his 2 goals in this game were from the penalty spot as well. Not they all count, but it's the other parts of his game that he seems to keep evolving as well. This season, his passing.
He's less selfish than he was last season.
Yeah. So strong. And the last thing to say about him is consistently has 2 people on him, which means we're playing 10 versus 9. Or 8 versus
doesn't
8.
bother him at all, though. He just deals with it.
And that just means other people have got space and room to play as well. So, I can't speak. We probably need a whole episode on
it's
lyrical.
I'll say what I will say about him. Very few players on the planet consistently make the game look so easy that it's insulting to everybody else. Like how easy he makes it look.
Yeah.
Messi makes it look easy. Cristiano Ronaldo used to make it look easy. Lewandowski at times, Harry Kane at times, but Mo Salah for years and years now just makes it all look so easy. It's Michael Jordan-esque. It's the give me the ball and watch what I can do moment. Like he just does it 3 or 4 times a game consistently, and it's that consistency that, again, how do you get that good and that consistent and make it look so easy? There just isn't a better player in the planet in the biggest, hardest league that's consistently doing what he's doing. Man City don't have a guy like that. I think Sterling has maybe had 1 season where he was kind of like that, but Mo Salah, since he got to Liverpool, has been a revelation.
Kane's probably the closest, just not doing it week in, week out like Salah is. I think he did last season to some extent, but Salah is he's so consistent every
Harry Kane
game.
is the only guy I can think of that.
The closest.
Sadio Mane is unfortunately in the shadow of this guy, so he's probably unfairly left out of this conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Am I the only person?
I cannot wait to see him play at Real Madrid. I'm looking forward to getting. I will get a Real Madrid Mo Salah jersey.
JP, before we get into previews, what do you want to say about?
I actually think it's more impressive that he went to AFCON in the middle of the season, because you're leaving one team to go play for a second team that plays a completely different style, a completely different setup with shittier refs, shittier fields,
shittier players around you,
plays there to the final, then comes back and keeps playing. It's just incredible.
Yeah, are we entirely sure that the refereeing at AFCON is worse than the Premier League?
Do you remember? Just trying to see if that's sarcasm or not.
I'm just going to ask. Okay, so let's fly through this week's games. This is an important note to everybody. The game week, if you're in fantasy football, starts on Friday. That means it starts tomorrow.
Don't forget to get your picks in.
Also worth noticing for fantasy football, if you are so inclined, Liverpool and Chelsea do not play in the Premier League this week. They're busy doing other things in some sort of trophy thing. I don't know. I don't care anymore. Whatever.
Is there a trophy this weekend? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that shit. So Southampton will be hosting Norwich. This should be a straightforward game to Southampton. Southampton have found some degree of form. Norwich had a little bit of a blip where they looked like they might be getting some sort of false dawn, false hope together. That was crushed pretty firmly by Liverpool. This should also be a game. I think Southampton, on the heels of a 2-0 win over Everton, just go about doing the business. I don't expect anything other than a simple, straightforward win, with the little asterisks of it's the Premier League. You never really know. Leeds are going to probably do Spurs a favor at the exact time that Spurs need a favor, and that's host them for a game of football.
Yeah, I think just to quickly, my thoughts on this is exactly what we need. Based on what we've seen from Leeds, but let's be blatantly honest, brutally honest about the situation. Is Spurs will probably be Spursy and find a way to lose.
It'll draw.
Or get a draw. But Leeds, 10 games or 10 goals in the last 2 games, coming up against the Spurs side, who struggling to score despite what we saw against City, against Burnley. Leeds are open, and the Spurs should be comfortable, but probably won't be.
Dun dun dun. Brentford, I think, are going to accommodate Newcastle with allowing them to win. I think Newcastle are going to continue their trajectory further and further away from the drop.
Playing good football at the moment.
They've got some stuff going
for what they're doing.
Yeah. Trippier is likely injured with a foot injury, but honestly, the goals he scored for them are probably already worth the price they paid for him this season. Brentford, as mentioned earlier in the reviews, are really struggling. They're heading towards that bottom like it's a gravitational pull. There doesn't seem to be a lot going on for them. The only thing I would say is a maybe interesting side plot to this is that Tony was sold by Newcastle, and sometimes there's a little bit of a motivation for a player who is probably looking at the shop window for somebody to buy him.
Well, he needs to be doing better.
Yeah,
if that's the case.
He
needs to do something, but the motivation to get one on Newcastle might be an interesting side plot. But otherwise, I would expect Newcastle to continue their crawl out of the basement. Another team that's kind of crawling towards the basement a little bit slower than other teams, so I'll give them that, is Aston Villa, who are going to be visiting Brighton. Brighton, the enigma of the league, fantastic
JP,
in possession.
Where did you go, buddy?
I would be tempted to say that this is going to be a 1-1, your classic Brighton score.
God, I hope it's a 1-1.
But
he's not even hoping for a win. He's hoping for a draw.
Yeah, I'm terrified
desperate
right now.
Moment.
Like, I am super desperate. Villa fans are desperate to see some changes. There needs to be some immediate tactical changes, not just player changes, but tactical changes. Steven Gerrard has this 4-3-2-1 Christmas tree formation, very tight in the middle. And I think he really needs to switch it up to like a 4-2-3-1 and put 2 guys in front of the back 4. Not just, width would help, and putting Bailey in and Coutinho left and right. I think that would do something for us. But I forgot
you guys had Bailey.
I know. And he's been injured for like 4 months. And I think he's a quality player. I think he's still going to be really good. But he's coming off the bench right now for us. But I just don't think having Douglas Luiz as the holding center mid by himself is helping us. I think he needs
He's
either
not
John
strong
McGinn.
enough to play that position.
He's not.
is he?
He's just not good enough.
Physically.
He's too young. He's slow to track back. He doesn't read plays exceptionally well right now. To me, he's more of an 8. But we have 3 8s in the team. Well, we have 4 8s. We have John McGinn. We have Jacob Ramsey, who's going to be a talent. Scored 2 goals.
Had some moments recently.
Yeah, he's been doing really well recently. But I think he should be dropped for a potential of like McGinn, Sanson, who we have in the waiting for us, and Douglas Luiz. Put Sanson and Douglas Luiz right next to each other. Put McGinn right in front of them. Then you have Bailey and Coutinho, and I don't know, flip a coin, Watkins or Ings. So there you go. But if we get a tie,
Are you suggesting dropping Ramsey?
yes, yeah, he played terrible.
Oh, I want to mute you. You're awful.
Then trust me, I like him. He just played really bad last game.
You like him, but you always give him the wrong name. You call him by his brother's name.
I know. There's brothers, and they look the exact same. It's scary.
I don't think you understand how much he's on my fantasy football team, and I will not accommodate him being dropped. I will not allow it, JP. I'm gonna call this right now, and you're not gonna like this, JP. Brighton are gonna score a goal from a set piece on the head of a defender.
Brighton a little bit shaky recently, losing 3-0 to Burnley. Shouldn't be losing those games. Brighton at home as well, so they can be had. I don't think you should be as nervous as you are. I do see a solid 1-1 draw.
Like you said, a good time to play for Spilla is to play Leeds. A good time for anybody is to play Villa right now.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I like Brighton's chances here. I'm going to put money on it. A defender is going to score a goal from the head, and it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I'll give you that.
If that happens, damn, dude, I'll chug a beer next one. I'll chug a beer.
Oh, you'll sip a drink that's fruit-based.
It's not a real beer. Let's be honest.
I'll get a shot. I'll take a shot.
Oh, look at you. You're a man now.
Oh, all right. Cool. Happy birthday.
If
Crystal Palace are going to host Burnley, and can Burnley keep this up? Can Burnley be a team that all of a sudden, with that one missing piece, with Weghorst being that guy, continue to turn things around and be a surprise team to a lot of clubs? Crystal Palace are there to be taken. They're not good. One win last 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
Burnley on fire a little bit. That's fair to
having
say.
just watched Burnley play Spurs, Burnley looked really good. They did. They looked really organized. They looked not just sitting deep, aggressively pressing as well. They press Spurs so well, and Spurs are obviously terrible when teams press them. I think Burnley will comfortably beat Palace away. I really do.
Sellers Park is hard to go to, though.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, it is.
It's also Ted Lasso at FC Richmond's home ground as well.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
easy stomping ground then. But for Palace, I think it's one of those where if their players show up, they're always a hard proposition. So I think Burnley are on a bit of a roll. So I do think Burnley are going to win. I just don't think it'll be as easy as not, because Palace have started to stop the rot with their win 4-1 away to.
Yeah, it's a solid win for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those where if this was this time last week, we would have been like, who's going to win this? And now Burnley have got 2 wins on the board. Palace got a comfortable win on the board. So this
could be one of the better games, better Premier League games at the weekend, right?
Games of the weekend.
Yeah, fair show.
I used to, less so these days, but I used to love watching Crystal Palace games because they were always the best example of Premier League games because no lead was safe, everything was
always
dramatic.
open. Yeah, very open.
It was open and crazy. So yeah, I think this, at the very least, I think we can say this is going to be potentially a really good game. I would not have said that about Burnley 3 weeks ago.
No.
They just weren't entertaining. But Weghorst comes in, and now all of a sudden
Massive
they're very
difference in
entertaining.
how they play for sure.
God, he's good.
I don't think this will be that entertaining, but Man United are going to host Watford.
Should be comfortable. Should be comfortable. There's not a lot to say here. Watford are crap. They know they're going down.
Hey, what are you talking about? They just beat us.
That's what I'm saying. Watford are crap.
You're right.
Or Aston Villa. So let's
Yeah.
I'm crying.
The danger for this kind of game is that I think players know that the audience is pretty large when you play Man United. So there's always this shop window thing that kind of happens.
Step up their game a little bit.
And they've got some guys that should probably be moving on to some other teams at the end of the season. I think Dennis is a really good example of if he could perform against Man United, all of a sudden a lot of question marks about his suitability for bigger clubs might get answered. So that's kind of a concern for this. Like, yeah, on paper, it should be a fairly straightforward day, but there's always that center stage kind of.
Haven't you
worry.
lost to Watford 4-1 already this season as well? Is that a correct?
They had right before they fired their manager, they beat us. And that was I think players had quit kind of a vibe too. Like that was
No, I get you. I just thought I'd chuck that in there
ugly
for
period.
some banter.
So yeah, I don't know. I'll never sound confident until a permanent manager is in place and a bunch of other things have to happen. Until then, I'm just a guy who hopes we don't lose. I'll tell you who's going to lose, and it's Everton, and and they're going to lose to Man City. And with this loss, and a Newcastle win,
Everton
and a
into the
Burnley
bottom
win,
3.
they are in the bottom 3.
Oh man, that would be glorious.
That's a toffee.
Oh,
a sticky
God, that's
toffee
gotta hurt.
moment.
That's gotta hurt.
Could anybody have predicted this?
I don't think so. I don't think he would ever, considering the manager, considering the investment. I know that they didn't invest last summer a ton, but the players that are in the squad, you'd think
better than where they're at.
You'd think that they should be way better than in the relegation fight. It's nuts. It's nuts. But they're going to lose this game pretty badly.
5-0, or is anybody saying?
I would say probably 3-0, 3 or 4-0. Maybe they get a goal, but yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
The sad thing is a lot of their fan base actually won't even mind losing because it means that Man City don't drop points. That's honestly how sad it is.
Yeah, they're cheering for.
I was just gonna say, are you rooting for Everton?
Yeah, that's dark, but also true.
Yeah, well, the thing is, for us, it's like we want the title. So for us to win the title, Everton should beat City. Same thing when United play them. I think it's the week later. It's different for Everton because we're on it's that relationship at the moment. I'm sure if this was reversed, there would probably be some Liverpool fans. I hope there wouldn't be, but there probably would be some Liverpool fans who feel the same. But it's en masse at the moment. It's very sad. So for any of our Everton listeners and watchers, if you don't agree, no worries. Leave a comment underneath.
Please do. Yeah,
we totally understand. But from what I see, and from the banter I'm a part of, they'd rather lose this than have us win the league, which is very sad, but it is what it is.
If Everton lose badly and the Everton fans start doing the Poznan, like turning their backs to the crowd and jumping up and down, like then the jig is up. We know who you're really trying to support. You're like. Also, that might be the most hilarious thing if that actually happened.
Actually, yeah.
I'm like said it as a joke, but now I'm imagining it, and I just think that would be the funniest if Everton lost like 5-0, and the Everton fans are doing the Man City celebration at the end. I'm hoping for it now.
It would be funny. It would be fun. I can't see it, but I would laugh.
Were you a wrestling fan as a kid, by the way? That just sounds like such a wrestling thing. It's like he takes his shirt off and he's really part of the NWO.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You were rooting for them all along.
Hey man, New World Order all day. Too sweet. Okay, too sweet. I was, in fact. I still am sometimes. West Ham Wolves in a game that has significance for the top 4. Maybe a little less now because Wolves just dropped points to Arsenal. Maybe a little less now because West Ham
still for Europe, I think, but more for like that Europa League spot, probably. Yeah.
It's gonna start becoming more of a conversation about the top 6. Yeah. They're all still in the top 4 race, so I don't want to start framing it that way, especially for Wolves, because on a balance, if they continue to keep the pace of what they've been doing, they will still be in that top 4 race despite losing to Arsenal. And I'm just a fan of how they play. But this is going to be a good game. This is I think going to be
one of the better games,
more open than people maybe are expecting when they go into this game. You can kind of tell from today's game against Wolves that maybe the pace of games, the quantity of games, things are starting to open up a little bit. They're playing fairly free flowing, but they are not as tight as the back as they had been in the past. They had a fairly major injury today. I think it was Semedo went down. He's likely going to be gone for a while.
It's a big loss for them.
Johnny is just coming back. I think we'll take that position on the right wing, I believe.
Right wing back, yeah.
And he hasn't played in like a year or something crazy like that. So this should be a good game. I think this is going to be an opportunity for West Ham to like turn some fate around as well. Ultimately, I think a good game is probably going to be a 0-0 draw. It's the curse. So whatever. And then we bring us to our second game for Burnley this week and our first game for Leicester. It'll be the last game of this game week. Burnley host Leicester. Burnley, I mean, listen, if they can win both these games this week, they are just giving themselves such an edge to get out of this relegation race. Like that asterisk of do the math when you've been seeing him in the bottom three or
they're on a roll right now too, Paul. Like
that goes
being on a
away.
roll is massive,
It reveals who they really are. Even if they win one of the two games this week, they are showing everybody that bottom three was really more about scheduling and games played than it was about actual results and form. Whereas Leicester, they're there to be taken. I haven't seen much.
They're so bad on corners and set plays. They're so bad at set plays.
And Burnley are like,
that's their bread and butter.
Giants. They're giants.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly for Leicester. I think. I honestly think Burnley again. Based on what I've seen, they just seem like their form is very good. They're on a roll. They're aggressive. They've got a striker in Weghorst that makes them a complete side in a way that they hadn't had that outlet. So, and he is really good, and he's very good. He's flying like personality wise, you can tell he's like he's finally happy again. I think that he was complaining about is Wolfsburg, I think is where he was at, and he wasn't getting into the side anymore, and he kind of lost his motivation. He looks so motivated, and he's playing incredible. Really difficult to play against. Much better on the ball than you expect by looking at him.
He reminds me of a more efficient Andy Carroll.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah.
He plays as well, right? The problem with Andy Carroll was he was never fit.
Yeah, it's true.
He plays.
Is he your favorite Liverpool player ever? I imagine he's your favorite Liverpool player ever.
The one thing I do want to say in Leicester's defense, it's not in Brendan Rodgers' defense, because I feel like that would be a very Liverpool thing to say. And I have no beef with Rodgers, but it is what it is. But there's a lot of teams in Premier League history who do this when they compete for a top four place. They'll compete for 2-3 years, and then they have a season away, and then they come again. Like, this is not unheard of. So I think Leicester are being also their success is working against them, because they won the league 5 years ago, 6 years ago, then they won the FA Cup last year. So if you were told Leicester when they were first coming up in 2014, 2015, you'll be a Premier League team for this many years, you'll have a couple of top 4 or 5 finishes, and then once every few years you're going to finish like 13th, 14th. Like, they'd have taken that. So I think that sometimes there's a bit of over expectation, because they've been good over the last couple of years, but are they the type of squad that with their injuries can sustain top 4, 5, 6 every year? I don't think they are. So I kind of feel like this was a normalized year for them. Next year,
it's also Brendan Rodgers has a sell by date. He can manage at a club 2-3 years max, and then he seems to kind of lose the plot a little bit. We saw it at Liverpool. We're seeing it again at Leicester. And if the recruitment isn't where it needs to be, and he doesn't have enough refreshment of the squad, he seems to lose his ability to motivate the players. And of course, they have had a number of injuries this season that have affected their form, particularly key players as well. And Jamie Vardy isn't Jamie Vardy from 2 seasons ago, where he's able to change a game by getting in behind a defense and finishing every time. He looks like his age is finally catching up to him a little bit. So they need to recycle in their squad. They need to. Some of those players need to be cycled through, and the recruitment that they'd had previous to this season wasn't there in the summer, and it doesn't look like they've addressed that. Now maybe they will this summer, but it hasn't been good for them this season at all.
If I was a Leicester fan, I would say stick with Rodgers. Like, for me, it's like,
I think for one more season, but you still have to be skeptical.
It's a certain time and place. Like, this squad needs a refresh. It's a cyclical sport. They've been.
That's what I'm saying. Give him the refresh next season, and if he doesn't do anything with that, then you kind of have to be like, okay.
They have like
my difference is that everybody should be clear about what success looks like during a refresh period. It doesn't need to be top 8 anymore.
Finish in 7th or 8th.
It could be that, or it could be like signing the right young players and developing them and seeing some progress that you feel like we're a center back away from really making something like a go of it. Like, we're always kind of obsessed with where teams finish in a season, and that can be misleading, because a build of a team doesn't mean the next season is going to be like you're going to get the standings. Like,
Oh, that's fair. Yeah,
it's
it takes more
tricky.
than a couple of transfer windows to make. the
Yeah,
adjustments.
it's my biggest complaint about how we evaluate managers. It's like, well, if they don't have the squad to do anything, then why are we saying that he should have done more than with what he had?
Yeah, I think the problem will be not how we evaluate it; it's how the club will evaluate it.
Yes.
If and they're impatient often. It's not necessarily the right decision to sack a manager.
But then
Often-
fans drive that by
and of course,
Pickett
there's
Brendan Rodgers
discontent
out.
within the fan base, and then Rogers out comes out, and they start to realize, okay,
Yeah.
we need to make a change. Sometimes, well, not even sometimes, most of the time, it's easier to change the manager than it is to recycle the players because it takes
Always.
one guy that's got to go,
Yeah.
not 4 or 5 players that need to be recycled. Then you've got to find those players, and then they've got to be at the same level that you already had, and you've got to bring them into the squad. So there's a process there.
Meanwhile,
it's easier to
ultimately
sack
the guys
manager.
who are signing the players
Doesn't work.
and building the team from the contract sign, or actually one's responsible, but they're in a boardroom, so nobody ever calls them out.
Yep. Yep.
It's
This is the
not
problem.
an easy
with modern
job being a
football.
manager.
You sound like a United fan there, mate.
Well, it's also from Spurs too. You could say the same.
No,
I think it's modern football. I think Liverpool are a bit of an exception to what we've seen with a lot of the bigger clubs and how they're recycling it. Klopp has been so solid with what he needs when he needs it and bringing them in. And of course, they've gotten lucky a little bit with some, obviously the Coutinho sale was massive for Liverpool, and the bringing in the 2 players they did in Allison and Van Dijk was, that was a solid base in your spine that you can work off of, and you can bring in players in and out slowly and develop them, and you've also got a good youth system there and players coming through. So there's some things about Liverpool that are different than other squads at that level, at the highest level. City just buy players. They do it. Oh, we need 4 fucking left backs and right backs. Let's just buy some defenders and we're good. And they got a manager that can manage it. And if they don't like them, they just go buy somebody else in the next transfer window. I don't know what my point is, but it's different. I think we're just talking about Leicester. I think Leicester don't have a recruitment in their system at the moment to be able to do either of those things, and so it's gonna take them long to recycle through the
It's
players
gonna be interesting because they have like
rid of.
8 or 9 guys coming out of contract in the next 18 months, and so I don't know if I've ever really seen Brendan Rodgers do a cycle through where he's had a successful team and now he needs to rebuild it again, and I just don't know if he has it in him for that. But we will see, and I think with the guys winning the FA Cup, some of those players probably thought, why do I need to put myself in the shop window to get bought? I just won an FA Cup. People know what I'm about over the last 2 years of being here. Why do I need to kill myself for another season when I'm going to get sold in the summer coming up? I'll make sure I'll take it nice and easy. I won't get a broken leg. I won't make sure I'm stuck here. They're already in the shop window. They won an FA Cup.
I don't know.
Tielemans
is an example. Needs to finish strong if he wants to go to a higher level team.
Form is so important. Recent form is so important when a team is considering whether they're going to bring you in or not. If you're playing really well and you've had a good run of games, and then a window comes up open, and you're in that shop window you talk about, you have much more of a chance of getting picked up by a bigger club because they recognize this player's doing it right now in the Premier League and is going to be useful to us. If like you just said, Paul, Tielemans, who's been pretty poor for Leicester this season compared to what we've seen from him previously, he is not looking like the player that you would go, we need a midfielder who's going to do what Tielemans did previously, and then go, well, we need him now. Is he going to do that now? Well, right now it doesn't look like it. You're going to pick a player who is probably, arguably, I would imagine.
Tielemans, 25 mil right now. Yes or no?
No. Not 15, probably.
He does not work hard enough off the ball.
Yeah, he's shown a lot of what's wrong with him at the moment. And if his attitude is I'm going to save myself, I'm going to save myself, that's not a good attitude. That's not a player that a coach is going to want.
He does walk into both the United and team, though, right? So, but
if I'm spending 25 mil, it's not on him.
There's other players that you can get for that price that would walk in as well, and that maybe aren't.
On this rebuild, I have to say, is Leicester's recruitment team is solid. So
it has been great.
Yeah,
it has been great. Yeah, and I've always envied them for that because their cycle has been good and they brought in the right players, and those players have been much better than you'd expect them to be from where they've gotten them from. They find them in good places. They're not spending crazy money on them, but they've suited the system. So they've had really good recruitment. But I think this is the trend that's happened with the Premier League with every team where the contracts are running out. It happened with Arsenal. It's happening with Spurs. It's happened. With Leicester at the moment. Oh, their contract's up. Man United.
Palace,
Palace. Yeah, I mean, it's every team now. It's a player power trend that is happening across the board, and it's a hard one to manage. I would imagine as a club and as a manager in that club, like what are we going to do with these contracts? We have to offer them something. If we do, then they ride the pine and make their money, which is what we've seen as a habit as well. It's a difficult one.
Not that anybody's asking, but if anybody's interested, the guy I would take off of Leicester would be Ricardo Pereira.
Yeah, solid.
I think, like, as an example of their recruitment, like, he wasn't a secret. He'd been around for a while, and then they just said, like, no, he can do the business. Nobody else seemed to want to take that risk of jumping from Portugal to Premier League and duplicating what he was doing. And he just came in and, like,
did the job.
Man,
yeah,
so goddamn.
I like who is it? Barnes. I like Barnes. I think he is.
Barnes is a good player as well. He's got a high ceiling. I think if with the right manager, he's young. He's good finisher of the ball, and I like him as well.
He's like 20.
Yeah, he's young.
No one taking Madison, hey?
I think Madison's attitude has kind of messed with him a little bit. He's going to be expensive, and he comes with a bit of baggage in his off-field antics and his attitude. It's a manager like Brendan Rodgers, who relied on him for so long. They had a falling out because there's some shit that wasn't part of what was going on the pitch, and you don't want players like that in a squad, especially if your squad is it's tight. You're trying to keep it a certain way, and if players like that add difficulties, you don't want that in your squad.
I don't mind him, like, I'm less against that. It's just more of I have Bruno, like, I don't need another. Like,
Spurs arguably could use that player. Like, we haven't replaced Eriksson. He'd be probably a perfect replacement for him.
I also, if he was better on the ball, and Didi is such a good eater of grass, like,
that's true. Yeah,
you just at a certain level, you got to be able to do that and pass the ball.
Who's better?
5 feet.
Who's better, Ndini or Basuma?
Basuma.
Basuma's better. Yeah.
What are you, silly?
All right, lads. It's we've been here an hour and 35 minutes.
The time.
I gotta bounce. I gotta eat some food before our album night. I want to thank Azaz for coming, mate. Absolutely quality. Just to everybody know who's watching for the first time, Azaz will be with us on a regular basis. Liverpool supporter. Azaz, tell us a little bit about your own channels that you have and what you do, so anybody can follow you.
Yeah, proud member and part of the team at the Liverpool Toronto group. So you can find us at OLFC Toronto or lfctoronto.com. So we are the official Liverpool Supporters Club of Toronto. Wonderful team of people who are trying to do big things, really. Our motto is body in Toronto, heart in Liverpool. So we're very much trying to fly the Liverpool flag over here. And then myself, I'm on at the Cultures, what you see out here. So follow me on Instagram. I do a bit of YouTube as well. I really need to get back on that. But fellas, this has been a pleasure. I've loved sharing the stage with you, getting to meet you. I chatted to Brian and Forrest yesterday. JP, awesome meeting you as well. So I would love to be back. So if you need someone, you want to talk Liverpool, please give me a shout.
Well, as you know, we talk all clubs, and Liverpool have been undercovered for the time that we've been here, and it was a pleasure. Knowledge is great, and unfortunately, Liverpool are going to be in this conversation of a title race, so you'll probably be here pretty regularly. I don't think
he realizes he just got made into a regular contributor.
Yeah, basically. I say unfortunately. I say unfortunately in that Liverpool are going to be winning shit again, but fortunately that we'll get to have you week in, week out if you.
It's like the end of the date, it's just like I wouldn't mind doing this again. And we're just like, bitch, we're gonna get married.
Obviously, JP and Paul, pleasure being here with you guys as well, and anybody who's in the comments, like and subscribe, everything you do when you follow a YouTube channel, do all the stuff. We appreciate the support we're getting, and thanks for being here. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
This is the North